called sister brother.
Ah,
It
okay.
creates its own family unit, and they bring in and the different departments, the different people. So it's maintained a family culture, but at the employee level,
Okay,
which is
so in a
very
sense,
interesting.
there are families in the business.
Yes,
Okay.
many, especially of the old timers that have been with the business for a long time, that they brought in their kids, and
Okay.
now and there are many different departments and
And the company, of course, expanded, so
Exactly.
recruited all the time.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would say that would be kind of a distinguishing feature
Yeah, very.
that still makes it a family business.
Yeah,
Okay.
but not with the originating family.
Okay.
So it's very interesting in the way that it's developed over the years. So it's still considered a family business, but
Mm-hmm.
not that the family feels that they're part of the family business. Because
Okay.
they all stepped down.
Okay, they sat down. Yes. Okay, that's interesting. So maybe if we can dive further into the family aspect, I think you touched upon it.
Mm-hmm.
The family, the influence of the family, and here we're talking about the family. The company bears the name of.
Yeah.
Do you have examples of its influence of such family, maybe, and with negative implications or with positive implications? The fact that you have this controlling family, let's call it that way.
Yeah.
So would you have basically the effect of having such a family in the background, and examples, positive and negative, of such influence?
Okay, so the family that I guess is at the realm of the company. So yes, obviously there's influence there, but it was always said that as long as the company is successful and does well, who is anybody else in the family to tell them you're not doing a good job when they are doing a good job?
Mm-hmm.
So if the company is growing, dividends are being paid, everything is going well, then can you really say and influence anything more than what they're already doing?
Okay.
So as long as it's a successful company, I would say whatever influence they have, it's been a positive influence. So there's no need for the other family members to get involved and say anything, because it's been a positive result of the decisions that were made by the influential family.
Okay. So basically they made the right decisions at the right time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Had things been differently, I don't know how different it would have been, but I'm sure other family members would have tried to step in, but because they were very successful in what they've done, there was no need.
So the issue of negative influences did not really arise that much. The fact that having a family in the background.
I guess the negative influence, if you really want a negative influence, which is what I've heard from the other family members, is, I guess, the legacy story that has been told. And as long as it's now in the internet and written in the annual reports and wherever you go, is not the same story that the family members would have liked the story to be and how it began.
Okay.
That's the negative influence, because they influence the history.
Okay, so the history which is being conveyed
Is their
does not
history.
equal your own perspectives on such history.
It's one perspective of the
Okay.
history.
And
And
so
that's a negative influence because it doesn't give the perspective of the others.
okay.
Yeah.
So the others. Okay, that's an interesting point. And we know that histories are kind of important because many companies, they have a myth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And depending what's the spin, well, somebody loses out on that spin,
Exactly.
and somebody wins. Okay.
Exactly.
So I guess it leads us to the next question, which is kind of the core of the interview, is that how did the family you touch upon it, how did the family manage the interactions between the business and the family? You touch upon it, but
Okay.
are there formal mechanisms, or is it more like informal? So how was it implemented depending what was the objective? Like I think you mentioned that there was an intent when the company went public to make sure that only, I guess, well-performing individuals work in the family. But you said it was kind of understood. But were there like more formal mechanisms in place, or was it more like in terms of a decision was made by some people and then implemented, or how was it done?
Yeah. So before being public, the board was made up of my aunts and uncles. So it was the generation that helped create the company that were board members. But then when we went public, they were obviously asked to step down, and then a new board was created for the public entity. So during those board meetings, yes, I heard that they were very contentious. They were sometimes heated.
That's the before public.
Before public,
okay.
Yeah, because it was family members. Being Sicilian family, it's very loud.
Okay.
But that's how meetings were done back then. They tried to discuss issues, but it was always last minute. If there's one thing I remember, it was always the frustration of things being last minute and nobody being prepared for the meetings until they were called.
Okay.
And then documents were put in front of them to sign with only a very brief explanation, but everybody needed to sign. So that was the way business was done then. So were the influences already existing prior to going public? Yeah, they probably were. But to create harmony within the family, they just decided, let's go ahead with it and not create issues.
So there were some frustrations.
There always are in every family. There are,
yes.
Especially a business family.
Before, but I guess there was a certain type of leadership,
Exactly.
which, in some sense, managed the relations between the family and the business.
Right.
But not necessarily. It was not
In
consensus.
a positive way, exactly. It wasn't positive on the family front, but it was very positive on the business front.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
Not positive on family front.
Right.
So business came first.
Yeah. Because it was their nest egg, they needed to be sure that the nest egg stayed above water, and if the family relations dwindled, well, the nest egg was...
Okay, so if there was a choice to make, then the business interest came first.
Because
Okay.
that was the bread and butter for everybody.
Okay, and when the company became public, then the board then became...
Transitioned to a professional board.
So you had you mentioned Lucien Bouchard, Alain Bérard.
Yeah, at the beginning there was even others because there was some turnover at the beginning. But yeah, they brought in some qualified board members to make it a professional board that could take the business issues at a different level than it being family. And
was the family in majority on the board
at the time? Before public, it
but
was all
after
100%.
after public?
No.
So the family was in minority. Okay, so already...
In terms of because we were always about 10 board members, and at one point we had 4 family members and 6 externals.
Okay, so there was a majority of external.
Yeah.
They might have been close to the family, but they were not members of the family.
Exactly.
Okay.
And close to the family on a business sense. So they were all brought in on the business side. They were not friends of or personal friends of. They were more business relations.
Okay.
And another point to also bring out in family business is the fact that we never had a second class of share issued. We always had one class of share. We never had the preferred voting shares that the family controlled. We only had common shares from the very beginning. And even though there were preferred shares in the minute book that we were able to issue, we've canceled them a few years
So
back.
you never went that route?
Never.
Okay. And was that important from the family's perspective, or?
I guess it was important for the public perspective.
Okay.